I was to vote, you bring technology to help the voting process. The card readers were introduced by the INEC. That because myself, my wife, and my mother used to vote in the same polling booth. The card reader rejected me as a city president. So I was not to vote. Rejected my wife and rejected my mother. The country was tense. Even at that point, I could have even stopped the elections. So something is wrong. Because the card reader rejected so many voters in the south, and so many people were frustrated. Meanwhile, in the north, the instruction was given. So they jettisoned the card readers, and they were voting. The same INEC officials in the south were insisting that they must be accredited by the card readers. So you really see something not quite right.
Barrister, did you listen? Did you hear everything he said?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that was by former President Goodluck, Jonathan. Now, can you tell me the reason why he didn't do anything about that? I didn't know about this until I just watched this interview.
On the day of the election.
Yeah, hold on, please. When during that election, you and I, of course, you were critical of Jonathan. In fact, I was even more critical than yourself of Jonathan. And I do not have any regrets. Up to tomorrow, I still criticize him. I still see him as, I view him the same way. My thought about Jonathan has not changed. Whether Buhari became a nightmare to us or not, it does not. Buhari's inefficiency and corruption does not take don't take away Jonathan's inefficiency and corruption. So I do not have any regrets for actually being very critical of Jonathan. Now, when I watched this, I said, why? Now, a sitting president went to a polling unit, voted, and the machine rejected you, rejected your wives, rejected people, probably the people that went there with you. That was exactly what he said. And you were not courageous enough to suspend that election or call that election off for another day. Barrister, what do you think was the reason behind him not actually doing the needful then?
Well, first and foremost, on the day of the election, I was watching live. I saw when Jonathan came to vote with his wife and his mother, and the card reader would not accredit them. But later, he was accredited. They were accredited later, and they voted. It's not as if they did not vote at all. There were several hiccups throughout the country, being that the card reader was just being introduced for the elections for the first time. He and his wife and mother eventually voted after repeated attempts. So maybe that's what, if he had been denied voting altogether, maybe he would have thought twice. But when he was saying that, he did not tell the people listening to him that we eventually voted. But I know that he eventually voted with his wife and children, even though they were hiccups.
Do you think? Okay, sorry.
Jonathan, I Jonathan back then, and one of the things I said then was that I will not support him on the day of the election if by the election time the Chibok girls had not been rescued. That was a national shame. I said, if by the time of the election, the government was unable to rescue the Chibok girls that have been kidnapped, I would not support him under any circumstance. And even though I knew that Buhari would be worse, as between Buhari and Jonathan, it was difficult to choose. But if the government had acted decisively and rescued the Chibok girls, I would have supported Jonathan.
Okay, let me ask you something.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry to cut you short because I don't want to stretch this. Now, the loss of Jonathan, was it as a result of betrayal? Do you think that he was betrayed by his inner circle members?
It was more than betrayal. The Nigerian politics operates on the basis of North and South. When it comes to the North, they are uncompromising. The South do compromise now and again. But when the South has ruled for 8 years, believe me, it is going to be hell in the North if the South should continue to rule. In this case, Obasanjo has ruled for 8 years. Yaradua came and did 2.5 years and died, which the North felt was their turn to rule for another 8 years. And then on the death of Yaradua, Jonathan took over, completed the 2.5 years, and then won his first term in office, making it about 6 years. So the implication of his winning again will make the South to have ruled for 10.5 years if Jonathan had won. So the entire Northern establishment mobilized. In fact, in that alliance, I told people that the move against Jonathan started in 2013. They recruited the American government. They used the PR machinery of Clinton to come to Nigeria by social media. That was the first manifest use of social media in politics in Nigeria between 2013 and 2014. The whole WhatsApp, the whole social media was inundated with attacks, criticism of Jonathan. Most of it were valid. He was a very weak, insensitive, and unknowledgeable fellow.
Yeah.
The president of a country like Nigeria, his outlook was very limited. He was born, brought up, went to school, everything in Port Harcourt. He didn't even understand the nature of the country. So he did not understand the hurricane that was coming from the north.
Then what do you think? Now, hold on.
Initially,
yes. We're stretching this. Barrister, sorry. Now, what do you think if after all this, you and I have the same view, if not me, even worse view than you, of Jonathan? Jonathan is a completely weak leader. Or was a completely weak leader. If after all this, what is the reason behind his name even some few months ago? His name floating and people were trying to bring him back into politics to vie to contest for presidency. I think the same thing happened prior to 2023 election. What's on their mind? What was on their mind? Sorry?
Jonathan is a jolly good fellow. He's a jolly good fellow. He does not wish anybody harm. He does not wish to put harm on anybody. He's just a good man. But he doesn't have the strength of character to hold a country like Nigeria, where you have to step on people committing mischief and put them in their place. He doesn't have that strength.
Yeah.
But people look back. They look back, reminiscing the what happened before is convenient, because you see the life then was better than now. You look back and say, okay, that time, what was the price of rice? What was the exchange rate? What was this? What was that? Then you see that it was 10 times, 15, 20 times better than what we have now. And you say, well, that was the leader then. So perhaps if he is back, it can still be good. So they look back. We think backwards as against the present. Every time you look at the present, the past is always better. So people at him. But for some of us, perhaps we can say he has learned from his mistakes. But he does not, even today, he does not speak as somebody who has that strength, who has learned from the mistake he made. And if given the opportunity, he will assert himself. He does not speak he speaks like somebody who is already defeated.
Yeah, that is it.
And who is ready to accept defeat even before the fight begins. Because these things were self-evident. He saw the American government, their intrigue in Nigeria. He didn't do anything.
Yeah.
A week to the election, the American Secretary of State was in Nigeria.
Visited, honestly.
Manipulating things.
That man was just too weak.
Send them away.
Honestly.
He saw what was happening and he accepted defeat even before the fight began.
That guy
and even today, he has not demonstrated
anything. Can you compare him to, in comparison, to the late Shehu Shagari? Who is weaker?
Between him and Shehu Shagari, I think he is weaker than Shehu Shagari.
God bless you. And that's exactly, I had this argument with someone. Someone said Shehu Shagari was, I said, honestly, Jonathan.
No. To be candid,
weaker.
I was an adult. I participated in politics during that time, but even though I was in the university, I can speak of that time and I can speak of now. I have traversed all the administration. As weak as Shehu Shagari was, Jonathan was far weaker.
Honestly,
and the problem with him, we have the benefit of learning from the past.
Yeah.
He would have learned from the weakness of Shagari.
Shehu Shagari, yes.
Shehu Shagari, and decided to be more stronger. Shehu Shagari came in 1979 after so much trauma has gone into Nigeria, from civil war to military rule to coming into the that was the Second Republic. So a lot of mistakes are excusable. A lot of mistakes that Shehu Shagari made then are excusable. But during Jonathan's time, what excuse are you going to make?
No excuse.
Have benefit of history, benefit of rulership from Obasanjo to Yaradua to him. And he can even look further back to Shehu Shagari. He had all the lessons to learn. He didn't. So in comparison, he is much, much weaker than Shehu Shagari.